The first rebellion against the administration is happening in MAGA's camp, which means it's against Trump. And MAGA showed that our voices matter. I consider myself part of this movement, which means a lot. Our voices are well heard in the White House, in Congress, in the Senate, and most importantly, in the corridors and halls of power. In general, the government should not forget that it works for us, not the other way around. And we won't let them forget that. 2 weeks ago, Grenel, United States Attorney General Pambondi stated that the Epstein case is closed. No client list, no crime, no evidence. Just before her, the FBI leadership stated that no one killed Epstein, that he hanged himself. This made us furious. We are Make America Great Again. We are the ones who kicked the Democrats out of running the country and handed the controls over to Trump's people. We were sure that Trump and his team were on our side. We are together, we have a common cause, and one of the goals we share is the destruction of power. The deep state, which must be held accountable for how they have ruled us for the past 3 decades. How they called the shots as if it was their own domain, and not a country that belongs to us. How does the case suddenly get closed and no one is punished? Well, it turns out there was nothing after all. We called it a riot, and we said they wouldn't get away with it. We won't let our representatives forget who's paying their salaries. The Democrats in Congress tried to take control of this process, but the Republicans didn't allow it. The Democrats put to a vote that all Epstein case documents must be published without any censorship at all. The government simply can't afford to do that. Well, first of all, there are minors involved in this case. Secondly, there are instances of, let's say, violence, force, brutality, cruelty, and things like that. Besides that, there's also the work of intelligence. All of this, well, at the very least, can't be published without going through it first. And the Democrats specifically insisted on publishing everything 100% and so on, knowing that the Republicans would be forced to stop it and vote against publication. So the government asked the Republicans to reject this proposal. In fact, the Democratic Party knew this would happen, but they wanted to present the situation as if they were for transparency and the Republicans were against it. Some of the files, by the way, are child pornography, which is also strictly prohibited from being published. Strictly prohibited from being published. This created the impression, due to the, so to speak, corruption of most of the press, that the Republicans are blocking transparency and the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a few days ago, some people mocked us for being overly optimistic and complacent. When we referred to our sources in federal law enforcement, to people at the highest level who told us, listen, expect new revelations. In the Epstein case, there was a sharp change in approach. Very influential people inside the administration are insisting on creating a special counsel, full-scale press briefings about the findings in the Epstein case, and so on. And all this is happening thanks to our voices, which cannot be ignored. Power to the people. Some detractors said, you're just making all this up, period. Or, you're stupid, period. Or again, you're just blindly believing in all this, period. Well, ladies and gentlemen, some people may have to admit they were wrong very soon, because our sources were impeccable and we were right. Within 24 hours, the Speaker of the House demanded full disclosure of all files, among other developments. Epstein also publicly accused Pambondi of mishandling the case, stating that she should be honest with the American people. By the way, that was said right on our show. But also, dozens of members of Congress demanded that Ghislaine Maxwell testify. Ghislaine Maxwell's family said, we are ready to testify and we want all the evidence to be made public, but the government is hiding this evidence. Period. Okay, that's a positive shift. Trump has stated twice that he wants the Justice Department to release the authentic materials. All right. Well, let's consider this a positive step in the right direction. There are increasing calls for appointing a special counsel. Bipartisan support and huge cultural publicity. The exposure of satanic predators from the elite. Ladies and gentlemen, this happened right after we were at the United States Capitol yesterday asking influential members of Congress questions about this. Orrin Bogart has tens of millions of followers on social media, and she says, "We need a special counsel right now. Matt Gaetz should lead it, period." Ladies and gentlemen, that's how it is at the time of this message. President Trump in an interview, which is about to be released later today.
What is a special prosecutor? That's what the Democrats once did to Nixon with Watergate, and the same thing they did to Trump in 2017 regarding Russia. It's a process prescribed by law where all the deceptions, that is, everyone involved in it, cannot deceive. Well, people still lie, of course, but at least they're under the threat of punishment. They have to testify truthfully and fully. Plus, what is, so to speak, a special prosecutor? It means a group of professionals who are hired or assigned to focus only on this case, to specifically handle this case.
And all his other friends rode for free. Everyone, again, all predators. And this was before Trump became president. Back then, Trump was a television host. This was in 2007 and 2008, and then in 2005 when Jeffrey Epstein was released by Robert Nulley in 2005. They had irrefutable evidence against Jeffrey Epstein, 50 underage girls whom he raped, and the FBI let him go because he started leaking information to the FBI. Our agency is absolutely evil. Most likely, that's exactly what they're protecting here. Obviously, they're protecting the intelligence element. The institutions will be destroyed because of this, but as far as I'm concerned, let them burn. Just in, President Trump is considering appointing a special prosecutor to investigate the Epstein case. A special prosecutor's investigation into the non-prosecution agreement and the overall handling of the Epstein case could very well go a long way toward restoring trust in the Trump administration. I think this might be the only way out at this point. Do you support the idea of a special prosecutor? People in Washington don't like special prosecutors because, well, you never know what they might find. That's right, Steve Benden is reporting this news along with John Solomon, who just interviewed President Trump himself.
I just finished an interview with the president. I know you're going to show it in full, without commercial breaks. At 6 o'clock in the evening, on your show, Mineral America with Voice, which airs right after Verum. Can you give us just a couple of the main points? Because I'm sure, knowing John Solomon, there are some big revelations in there.
John Solomon is probably one of the best journalists and investigators, if that's what it's called, in the United States of America. He just spent several hours at the White House and interviewed the president.
Thank you. Yes, listen, he was very candid, very open, very detailed, very focused. Let's start with the most important thing. He clearly learned in the last few days about a big case, about the conspiracy that Kash Patel uncovered in the FBI. He supported it and said, I like this. That's the right approach. I didn't know about it until you told me, and I didn't necessarily need to know. But that's the right way to look at the last 10 years of persecution of conservatives as a criminal conspiracy, period. He said that he is open to appointing a special prosecutor and added that this special prosecutor should just look at the Epstein case and make sure that nothing is being hidden there to give the American public a little more confidence, a little more trust that we are not hiding anything. I'm not hiding anything. We have nothing to hide, period. But if he wants to look into something truly important, that's possible. So I think the president supports appointing a special prosecutor, supports investigating the last decade as a criminal conspiracy to use the judicial system to punish political opponents. And he also said he won't interfere. It's in the hands of Pam and Cash. They're handling it, but I like this idea. Based on what you told me, I thought it was great.
In other words, Trump came up with the idea that by appointing a special prosecutor for the Epstein case, he would turn this investigation into a case about a Democratic Party conspiracy against the people of the United States, against our right to vote, our right to protect our borders, and our right to remove corrupt judges. That is, as a true tramp, he saw the core, the center, the root of the problem. And not just a separate episode with a terrible, nightmarish, pedophile, depraved elite that enjoys absolute impunity in this country. Naturally, both the FBI and the CIA are involved, and the former leadership of these organizations took a very active part in covering up these investigations. It seems so, and this gives an opportunity to get to the details. That is, the appointment of a special prosecutor. Because, I say it again, this is a prescribed procedure, not improvisation. Who organized the persecution of Trump supporters and Donald Trump himself? How was the circle of accomplices built? And how were they kept on such a short leash that they were afraid to open their mouths and spill the beans?
Let's continue listening. He wants the American public to focus. He focused on tariffs and ensuring national security. At one point, he said, listen, if I find out who's behind the attacks on immigration and customs enforcement, who's coordinating all of this, who was behind George Floyd and the riots, I will declare them a terrorist organization. That's an important statement. He's thinking about big issues. I think he's annoyed by all this noise online from people who don't actually know what's in Epstein's materials. And he made that very clear. Let's focus on the things that really matter to Americans. Listen, I want answers about the Epstein case too, like everyone else, he said. Let the prosecutor handle it and get all the answers. I have nothing to hide. I want the truth. I want cases to be opened, and I just want the justice system to do what it's supposed to do. It was a remarkable moment.
As an expert, I've discussed this with Tom Fitt, Mike Davis, and others, because the courts upheld President Trump's authority under Article 2. They supported him as commander-in-chief and in what he's trying to do to expel. They supported him in two historic decisions, one of which concerned the State Department, more precisely, the OZYT part of it. Yesterday, the Ministry of Education gave the go-ahead to proceed. I believe this is a powerful tool, along with this special prosecutor and this criminal conspiracy investigation, to really destroy the deep, deep state.
For those who don't understand this conversation, in the United States, the president cannot, let's say, fire a judge. In the United States, the president cannot fire teachers from a school without a court decision or close a ministry. The United States of America is a republic that gives the executive branch the right to enforce the law and, so to speak, to carry out the orders of Congress. Of course, the president has the power and the right to enforce it in one way or another, as quickly or as slowly as, so to speak, is convenient for him to carry it out. But if there is no decision from Congress, then either Congress or the Supreme Court must, in the event of a lawsuit filed by citizens, decide whether to carry out the president's order or send him off with a few choice words. The President of the United States is not a king, not a tyrant, not a dictator. He is the chief executive officer of a corporation called the United States, and above him is his board of directors, which is called Congress. Congress is the Senate plus the House of Representatives. All of this is done so that presidents, it was very difficult for them to usurp power, seize power, or exercise power. And by the way, if the military, let's say, follows an illegal order from the president, they will be imprisoned. They won't be able to say, we received an order, we were ordered, you have a head on your shoulders for a reason. Well then, sir, off to jail you go.
But is he thinking of the special process? However, he believes the special prosecutor, which we support, should be under the president's office. You mean, you think he'll say, hey, let the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Justice, let them be subordinate to him?
I think he'll use the mechanism that's currently outlined in the law. Interestingly, unlike Joe Biden, who wanted to personally go after Donald Trump, the current president takes a different approach. The National Archives, a White House lackey. Donald Trump says, I trust the system. I trust the people I put there to do this. Of course, we made some mistakes here and there, but I believe we can do this according to the law and do everything right without politics, just based on facts and evidence. I want Americans to know the truth and for anyone who committed a crime to be held accountable, period. It's really remarkable how the president stays out of it, saying, I don't want to interfere with the system. For the American people, transparency and accountability are paramount. Let's shrink the government to keep it out of our lives in the future, period.
I'm glad it's the way Solomon says, because I really don't want to be disappointed in Trump. He's kind of the last beacon. Everything he's done in these 6 months has been amazing. Well, at least everything I know about. Maybe he's done something that isn't amazing, but I don't know about it. And then there's this unnecessary, idiotic statement from the Attorney General and the FBI. It almost drove a wedge between Trump and his most passionate supporters. Bloggers, journalists, Make America Great Again activists. As soon as Epstein's closest assistant, Ghislaine Maxwell, heard about what was happening, she immediately offered to tell everything without a special prosecutor. Well, to Congress, well, of course, in exchange for... All right, let's listen.
Well, this story just keeps getting...
So this story is getting more and more interesting. We have breaking news. A sensational letter has surfaced that could shatter the entire veil of mystery surrounding Epstein. Congressman from Tennessee, Tim Dershey, has officially demanded that Ghislaine Maxwell testify before Congress, and he is not going to take no for an answer. Meanwhile, Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence and is the only person from Epstein's inner circle to end up in prison, is now offering to use her intimate knowledge about Epstein and his client list in exchange for a possible pardon. Make no mistake, this could change everything.
Ghislaine has been sentenced to 20 years, but she'll serve 10 years at most, and she's ready to give up everything she can for forgiveness of her sins. Now they're going to try to kill her, I think, and I think they can. Give a lot of money to the family. To someone who's serving a life sentence without parole in the same prison as her.
Just a few hours ago, Congressman Tim Burchett published a controversial letter to House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer with one explosive demand: to bring Ghislaine Maxwell to Capitol Hill for public testimony. Burchett states directly that Maxwell should not only be invited to testify before Congress, but if she refuses the invitation, she should be subpoenaed. In other words, he's demanding an invitation she simply can't refuse. And make no mistake, this isn't just another political stunt from Burchett. This is a direct response to the complete chaos that erupted after the Department of Justice stated that there is no Epstein client list, that he wasn't blackmailing some of the most powerful people on the planet, and that he definitely did commit suicide. Literally no one believes this, especially Trump supporters. And we need to understand why this base feels so betrayed after years of promises from Trump's team that the era of a double-standard justice system is finally coming to an end. After numerous appearances where Attorney General Pam Bondi literally said that the Epstein documents were on her desk at that very moment. After dozens of podcasts where Akash Patel and Dan Bongino promised that we would finally make these materials public and get to the truth, and to what really happened to Epstein and all the corrupt people involved in this. The Department of Justice suddenly released a memorandum over the Independence Day weekend of all possible dates, stating that there is no client list. There will be no further prosecutions and the whole case is closed.
I want you to hear the analysis of Dr. Steve Tyerley, an author of political books who is not a Make America Great Again member. He says that not all of Make America Great Again exploded, that for most people, Trump's achievements over the past 6 months are more important.
completely satisfied with. They are completely satisfied with the closed border, mass deportations, the end of inflation, and the lowest gas prices in the last 4 years. The return of manufacturing and industry, $10 trillion in new investments, energy independence, record growth of the Dow Jones Index, the cancellation of programs across the country, bringing progressive universities to their senses, and the ban on transgender athletes participating in women's sports. I mean, we could list these victories endlessly. They are completely satisfied with all of this.
And Donald Trump did all of this in less than half a year. But many Make America Great Again supporters understand that if the system by which the United States has been governed for the last 30, maybe even 50 years isn't destroyed, then everything Donald Trump achieved will disappear when a Democrat president comes to power. The same thing that happened after Ronald Reagan left office. And they are the ones who look a little further ahead and demand investigations and punishments.
Their main concern is the dismantling of the criminal parallel government, which, in their opinion, continues to operate with impunity, despite the Trump administration's claim that they will supposedly cooperate. To take control of this deep state apparatus and put an end to it once and for all. That's what this whole saga is really about.
With Epstein.
As long as the deep state remains in power with its system of double standards of justice, we, the people, are not running the country. And it turns out that all those 4 amazing years under Trump will be in vain if we can't truly dismantle the deep state. And the inability to make the Epstein case materials public is nothing but a sign of surrender to that very deep state. That's the essence of the concerns. That's why more and more influential Make America Great Again supporters are demanding Bondi's resignation. Even Trump, as you know, has recently had to defend her in the work of Seychelles. And honestly, his statements about Epstein, again, for many, not for everyone, but for many in the Make America Great Again movement, are becoming increasingly dismissive and essentially treacherous.
What I'm telling you is, if Trump's team couldn't defeat a group of pedophiles, how can they cleanse our lives of the nomenclatura, of thieves, of corrupt officials?
Maxwell herself says that she is ready to talk. Perhaps she will be the one who can resolve this whole conflict. And now she has a real chance to literally change everything.
The question concerns either testimony or witness statements, Ghislaine Maxwell, possibly before Congress. Or would you support members like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Anna Paulina Luna on the issue of publishing or subpoenaing the Epstein documents from the Department of Justice? Would you support any of that?
Remember, I told you how the Democrats tried to present themselves as fighters for transparency, and the Republicans as being afraid of revealing the Epstein secret. So does the Speaker of Congress answer the question of whether to start a hearing in Congress or not?
And about that specific subject. Anna on this specific issue, but I am for transparency. We are intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan told us we should trust the American people, period. I believe in this principle. I know that President Trump thinks so too, and I trust him. I mean, he assembled a team of his choice, and they're doing a great job. This sensitive topic requires full disclosure, allowing people to form their own conclusions. I mean, the White House and the White House team have facts that I don't know about. That's not my area. I wasn't involved in that, but I agree that we need to reveal everything. And, you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know when she originally made that statement. As I understood it, she was talking about documents that were on her desk. I don't know if she was talking specifically about some list or something else, but she needs to come out and explain all of this to everyone. I like her, and I think she's doing a good job. We need the Ministry of Justice to focus on the main priorities. Let's resolve this issue so they can focus on fighting violent crime, ensuring public safety, election integrity, investigating ex-Blue, and the issues that matter most to the president. I want to move past this quickly.
And Speaker Johnson is not alone. Senator Josh Hawley went even further. He says that Maxwell should testify under oath. As Mike Johnson said, this is an issue that the Trump administration will have to face for some reason. And there are different theories about this. Trump wants to wash his hands of it. Maybe because all of this is too dirty and disgusting, and it could pose a threat to national security considering the involvement of intelligence agencies. He could use this as leverage against his political opponents to keep them in check. There's no way that Trump himself is involved in this, as some on the left are now trying to claim. If that were the case, you could be absolutely sure that it would be used against him. They wouldn't have to make up nonsense about collusion with Russia or 4 federal indictments if they had something that politically damaging. But at least on her part, although Maxwell didn't explicitly offer a quid pro quo, there are several factors indicating a strategic move on her part, for the sake of a pardon. There is a report that Trump had previously considered pardoning Maxwell. It's unclear why and what she would have had to do for such a pardon. Reportedly, Maxwell's lawyers are reaching out to Trump, asking for some kind of deal to at least reduce her sentence. And she obviously has a huge amount of leverage. You know, as the only person convicted in connection with Epstein's activities, Maxwell remains in a unique position to provide information about his accomplices and his actions. And Maxwell's testimony, arranged by Trump, might be exactly what he needs to quell the rebellion that has arisen among a significant part of the Make America Great Again base. I mean, if Maxwell testifies, just think about it. She could provide details about who actually visited Epstein's properties, what activities took place there, how this trafficking scheme operated, and whether there were other accomplices who have so far managed to escape justice. I mean, she could very well blow this whole thing wide open. Obviously, the American people, especially those who were so devoted to President Trump, deserve answers. The victims deserve justice. And right now, there's one person sitting in a jail cell, and perhaps in the end, he might be the only one who can provide both.
This is the kind of story unfolding before our eyes. We Make America Great Again showed that when the president and his team go off course, we have the strength to coordinate that course. We have the strength to make Congress, the Senate, and the White House urgently coordinate their decisions with us, and to make Donald Trump call John Solomon and give him an interview promising to sort everything out. Here you have, gentlemen, democracy in action. This is exactly what democracy in action looks like. Under this video in the description, there's a link to my book as a gift for you, ladies and gentlemen. Several thousand people are already reading it and also receiving short daily videos for free. Well, I would define it as entertaining political economy. Well, of course, you didn't know that such a thing exists. I didn't know either before. Where? I talk in an engaging way about how to build your life so that you get tired of victories, quoting our president. From the personal front, meaning victories on the personal front, to business and your circle of friends. Getting tired of wins and victories. Amazing. All of this is available for free at the link below. And also a series of videos investigating the Clinton family, about young Putin's childhood, and my predictions for the next 17 years. I mean, the life of the United States and the world, by the link on the Camerton Global website, Camerton in English with the letter Camerton Global. So, see you soon, and I hope you'll subscribe, like, and write something to each other as well as share this video with your friends. Goodbye. Subtitles created by